Have you ever noticed that when you believe you need to be super mature when having friends over, you end up pushing them away despite good intentions? Well, that's what Lori found out in the episode I'm going to talk about today. So join me as I, SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, bring you another retro review from past seasons of The Loud House. Cue the intro. Today's episode is Party Down. In this episode, Lori tries to throw a mature and sophisticated party, but none of her friends seem to be having a good time. Not only does this episode have a simple yet relatable premise, but it also provided more development for Lori's character. Just like GarageBand, she's presented as a typical high school teenager who thinks she's too mature to act like a little kid compared to her younger siblings. Hence why she kicked nearly all of them out before her guests arrived and only allowing Lenny, Luna, and Luann to stay. You see, Lori believed being a sophisticated adult was the best way to throw a party. Obviously, her friends thought Lori's party was anything but fun when she tried to have sophisticated conversations, offering hors d'oeuvres that no one wanted to eat, and not feeling all too keen to do some country line dancing. I mean, you can't really blame her friends for coming up with excuses for wanting to leave because Lori's party was downright boring. You know it's bad when someone would rather do their homework instead of mingling with other party guests. The advice Lori took from a magazine may have worked well if she was trying to impress older and actual sophisticated adults, but she tried using those party tips to impress a bunch of teenagers, and it's no wonder her friends were turned off by the things she thought they would be into. The only, and saving grace moments were Luna playing music and Luann telling jokes to lighten the mood, all of which Lori saw as very unsophisticated and threw her sisters out for trying to supposedly ruin her party. She even threw Lincoln out when he snuck in as a phony foreign exchange student, and yet his party tricks, as juvenile as they come, were more well received than anything Lori had lined up. It wouldn't have surprised me if Lori admitted towards the end she was actually jealous of how popular her siblings were compared to her. Eventually, all the teenagers leave, and Lori came to realize that trying to follow sophisticated party advice from a magazine was a bad idea because teenagers, young adults if you will, are not as sophisticated as one would think. Her siblings allow her to join the party they started upstairs, and she ends up having more fun than she did in the basement. Lenny shares a picture on social media depicting Lori having the time of her life, and this brings all her friends back to her house to have the fun they were meant to have all along. The only thing I found a little cringy about the final party scene was the use of the gag props. It was weird enough when the dad tried using them in the beginning, but something about the teenagers using them towards the end just didn't sit right with me. But hey, that was all part of the underlying message to the story. You don't have to be a sophisticated adult to have a fun party, especially if you're in high school. You can be a little silly sometimes, and as long as everyone is having a good time, that's all that really matters. Overall, this episode is simple but effective in handling Lori's character, and it's one of her best performances of season 2. It's another classic example of a kid who wants to be an adult but comes to realize that not everyone in her age group has the same sophisticated mentality as her, and she ultimately ruins her own party and therefore everyone's intended good time. Some key highlight moments included Lisa enjoying the chocolate fountain she created and ends up having a massive sugar rush, getting a small introduction to the character Becky, who would later go on to appear in a few more episodes of the series, and a few verbal jokes from Lenny and Lincoln. Lenny said Lori's party pose made her look constipated, with Lori correcting her by saying sophisticated, although I think either or would be accurate, and Lincoln referring to Becky as babushka, which is the Russian equivalent of saying old woman or grandmother. Yep, he actually called a teenage girl an old lady. I don't know if he actually knew what that word meant or just said something random to sound smooth, but hey, Becky probably had no idea what he was saying either, so it's all fair game as far as I'm concerned. And of course, we can't forget the final scene with everyone dancing and having fun the way kids are meant to have, even with some cringe gag props. It's always nice ending an episode on such a positive note, and this certainly was one of them. With that said, I give Party Down an 8.8 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of Party Down. So I gotta ask, what did you guys think of this episode? Sound off in the comments below, and be sure to click that subscribe button for more Loud House related content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.